him in position to try to get points on the board with the field goal, he also gets out of bounds, right? So now they can get in the huddle, they can calm their hearts back down, find
Weinberg, we've been watching a storm in the southern part of our area, very specifically in Grayson County, that has had some persistent rotation on it. When this was south of Litchfield, one might be able to argue that there was what we call a tornado debris signature. What's a tornado debris signature? This means that we could be actually seeing some damage being done. It was marginal. Weather Service went with severe tornado possible, and they just upgraded that into a tornado warning. So I felt it was time to cut in here and let's discuss this one. So here's where we are. Just a reminder, guys, whenever we threat to life and property, this is where we stand right now. So this is going to be northeast Grayson County, and this goes into Hardin County. So if you're in the E-Town area and you're wondering, does the tornado warning include me? It literally is right to the edge of E-Town. So this is going to be on the edge of that warning, which means about 38 minutes remaining. So that means the warning until around 10:15. So you need to be aware of that. We've got a tornado warning. Again, this does include E-Town. We've got a camera in E-Town. This is something that we will be using extensively as we go through this, because this is going to be able to give us a view of that storm, what it is doing as that storm comes in on approach. And what I'm going to do here is make sure that we have that camera looking as west as we possibly can. As you know, this storm will be southwest, so we'll be looking for things as that approaches this camera. Do we see things like power flashes? That would give us an indicator here. So as we go through, I'm going to show you StormView 3D. StormView 3D is a radar system we use to identify when we have rotation. In this case, you can very clearly see where the greens and the reds come together just near the big Clifty area. Now, this is a good signature of a supercell thunderstorm. This has been ongoing for some time. My opinion is this, if it did not produce a tornado, it got really close. And what I want to do here is we're going to look underneath where we have that area of rotation, which is about 3 miles east-southeast of Big Clifty. Do we see anything in there that could be debris? So we would look for basically a blue hole. Now, I know you're going to look at this and you're going to say, there it is. There it is. You see the hole there, east-southeast of Big Clifty, tornado on the ground. Well, this doesn't work that way, where you have to be very careful. The tornado debris signature has to work only if that area where you have this blue hole is in an area where it's raining. Why? Because we need to know, if we're underneath rain, we know all those particles should look the exact same. If we're in an area where there's not rain, that could be dust, that could be air getting sucked into the storm. So I've put a marker here. Notice this red dot, and we're going to look on the left-hand side. We'll look on both sides. So you'll notice that the dot is in a generally rain-free area. So this is telling us that this is not what we call a tornado debris signature. There is obviously a notable area of rotation in this area, but by definition, we cannot call this a tornado debris signature. It is possible, again, that this could be a tornado, but we cannot go to a level of, I can tell you there's a tornado on the ground. We can't do that because that area of rotation, that little hole I showed you, is in a rain-free area, and that would not make sense for that to be debris being lofted. So we'll go over to StormView HD. We can spend a little bit more time on where this is right now. The area rotation, very specifically, is going to be, let me do a scope here. Area rotation, very, very specifically, is almost along the Western Kentucky Parkway right now. In fact, it is along the Western Kentucky Parkway near the Big Clifty area. So if you live in Big Clifty, I've got to have you in your tornado safe spot. As we go east of that, I need you in your tornado safe spot in Eastview and Star Mills. I need you in your tornado safe spot. If you're in the Hansborough area, Gaithers, you've got to be in your tornado safe location. Storms moving off towards the east-northeast. And again, it's a problematic motion, partially because this is going to mirror the Western Kentucky Parkway. And as you know, this is obviously a heavily traveled area. So this is definitely problematic, the location here. We do have a tornado warning here in effect. This is right on top of Big Clifty. This is heading towards the Eastview area. 17 minutes from now, it's going to be in the Hansborough area. 24 minutes from now in Cecilia, and 29 minutes from now in the Gaithers area. So you've got to go ahead and take those tornado safety precautions. What does that mean? Downstairs, underneath something, center part of the house, keep away from windows. When I go to school talks, I say this a lot. Downstairs, underneath something, center part of the house, keep away from windows, duck. Easy to remember, right? What do you do if a tornado is coming towards you? You duck. Downstairs, underneath something, center of the house, keep away from windows. That area of rotation is sitting literally on top of the Western Kentucky Parkway, and it will mirror it right into Star Mills. If it's me, if it's my family, I'm in my tornado safe spot. I'm not going to play around with this one. It may very well have produced a tornado south of Litchfield, as we did have a signature here. But right now, it does have notable rotation. And we do know that there's a warm front in our area, and these warm fronts are very, very dangerous. I said this earlier, and I said it last night. People were like, well, is that 2% chance of a tornado really necessary? And I said that when we have scenarios like this, where we have a warm front in the area, they're very effective at enhancing rotation. And that's kind of what we have seen here. You'll notice the tornado warning here. Let me give you info on this one specifically. Tornado warning is in effect for Grayson County until 10:15 and Hardin County. So if you're in the E-Town area 30 minutes from now, it could be in your area. We are watching you very closely. We know this is going to be uncomfortable. We know you're hearing the sirens in Hardin County. We know that you're hearing them in Grayson County. We're watching closely. The irony of this entire thing is, let me show you lightning on this. So, wait a minute. Mark, you're saying that we have a tornado warning, and on the top of the screen there, the lightning counter is only showing 6 lightning strikes. That is factual. So it is a thunderstorm because there's 6 lightning strikes, but it's arguably just barely. So let's go back over. We're going to take a look, and what we're going to do here a lot as we go over the next 30 minutes is try to determine, is there any debris on this storm? And I'll take you through the process every time I do this, and we're going to go and try to determine, is this a tornado possible? Or is this a tornado doing damage? So we're going to go ahead and do the same exercise we did a few moments ago. On the right part of your screen there, you can see the area rotation. This is 2 miles southwest of Summit. Summit, I need you in your tornado safe spot, not 2 minutes from now. I don't need you on the house looking out. I need you in the safe spot now. This is on the Western Kentucky Parkway. Notable rotation here going along the Western Kentucky near Summit. Let's do the exercise again. So here is the area of rotation. Do we see a debris signature? This is what we're going to look at. Let me take a walk back over to radar. I want to make sure that little lighter colored dot there, I want to make sure 2 things. Number 1, is that in the rotation center? We're going to go ahead and remark that. This is where we've got the rotation center. Okay, so we can see that coincides with this little lighter area within the pink here. The next thing we want to do is see, is it raining in that area? And what we can see here is, this is the dot on the right. Well, you can notice that there's actually a little hole in the reflectivity, a little bit of a hole in that rain area. So that doesn't tell us then that would be a tornado confirmed. It tells us, obviously, that there's an area of rotation in this area. That's what we're watching, obviously, very closely near the Summit area. But what it doesn't confirm that a tornado is on the ground at this point. And as I said, you know, one of the things that's really important when we do these analysis is, are we talking about something that may be producing a tornado, or are we talking about something that is producing a tornado. And as you can imagine, I mean, there's a big difference here. If I'm telling you, hey, you know, this storm may be able to produce a tornado in your area, we're watching it really closely, or hey, this storm's got a tornado on the ground, I think what happens in that moment is we take that a little bit more seriously. I think we kind of adjust. If I say tornadoes on the ground, it's confirmed, the radar knows that it's doing damage. I do think that a lot of times we get a greater level of action. So when I do this analysis, one of the things I always like to tell you is this a warning, or do I know that there's a tornado on the ground? Right now, radar does not allow me to say that there is a tornado on the ground. We do have notable rotation, and that rotation right now is very, very close to the summit area along the Western Kentucky Parkway. So if you're along the Western Kentucky Parkway, and where would that be now? Again, near Summit. What that means is down the line we need to be aware of areas like Eastview, Star Mills. This is going to mirror Hansborough. And I think the right move here is you've got to get in your tornado safety spot if you're in those locations. Let me take you to E-Town. We're going to look at our camera here. This camera is going to be looking towards the sky. Remember, we don't have a lot of lightning on this. So in this particular instance, if we were to have a tornado on the ground here, if we saw some flashes, we would know that's probably not lightning. Second, when we get what we call these power flashes, they tend to emanate from the ground. And thirdly, what we see a lot of times in these is it tends to have a little bit of a blue hue to it. So these are things we're looking at. You can see as we're looking at that camera live here, part of our camera network in our area, that we're not seeing any power flashes right now. So that's a positive. Of course, if that changes, we would update. So as we stand, in terms of rotation, I'm going to take you back over to StormView HD, and I want to show you an evolution that we have seen over the last couple of scans. So you're going to notice here, I'm going to highlight this area rotation along the Western Kentucky, so that's going to be point number 1 I'm putting on. Wow, the green and the red are right next to each other. Let me go to the next one. Oh, that is problematic. That is near the summit area, and the green and reds are right on top of each other, really bad. So there's been a change here. Now we go from where those greens and reds are right next to each other to now what you see on this image is we don't have as much. So what we have seen now in the last 6 minutes is the rotation come down notably on this scan. So if there was a tornado, we know that it went just south of Clarkson. We know that it went near the summit area, and we know that that rotation now has weakened off some. And you can see this is Eastview, so we're talking about directly south of Eastview along the Western Kentucky Parkway. Does this mean it's show over at this point? It does not. But we've seen at least a little bit of a jog backward in the intensity on that storm. This is heading towards the Eastview area right now. If I'm in Eastview, I'm taking my tornado safety precautions, which would put me downstairs underneath something. I need you in the center part of your house and keep away from windows. The good news here is we're not talking about elite levels of rotation, but I think you guys know. I mean, look, if it's my house and I've got a tornado warning and there's rotation going towards it, I'm not going to play around it. To me, it's just not worth it. I mean, I want to enjoy this holiday weekend. I don't want to injure myself. I don't need those problems. So I would just ask you, let's give the tornado warning some respect. It has shown notable rotation here. It does look a little bit weaker, which again, I am pleased to see. Scans come in about every 3 or 4 minutes, so we'll continue to get updates on that, and I will continue to analyze. But in Star Mills, this is another area where I need you to take your tornado safety precautions. E-Town, I'm watching you closely, my friend. I am not ignoring. We are watching you. That warning is until 10:15. So just so our news knows, since this is 10:15, if the warning was allowed to continue all the way through 10:15, that we would then cover up programming here for a little bit. So those are things that we're keeping an eye on. New scan is now starting to download in. This is something, again, that's kind of what you see when you watch us on TV at WDRB is we're always in a live analysis mode. So on the left part of your screen there, what you see is the thunderstorm buddy. It doesn't look as good as it once did, does it? On the right part of your screen, we're looking for the greens and the reds next to each other, and we're not seeing that. So let's actually do this exercise. You know what? Let's go back a couple of scans on the analyst and see what that rotation looked like. Summit you know, and let me, in fact, just for exercise reasons, I'm going to make this full screen just because I think it's going to help us a little bit more. So I'm going to center you up. Here's our rotation. I'm going to take you back to Big Clifty. There's our area rotation just south of Big Clifty. This was 9:33. I'm going to move you forward now to around 9:36. We see that rotation 2 miles southeast of Big Clifty. I'm going to show you at 9:40. That rotation is now 2 miles southwest of Summit. Wow, that area rotation is very obvious. That red and that green, that's 1 mile southwest of Summit at 9:43. Now at 9:46, which is 5 minutes ago, the greens and the reds are more diffuse. In fact, we don't even see reds on there anymore. Let's go into the current scan right now, and now we see a notable loss of the green and the reds next to each other. What is this telling us? It's telling us that if there was a tornado, it probably occluded. Occluding means that the area of rotation has either weakened or it may even in fact be gone at this point. So I'm again seeing signals that remain positive for me. If I'm in the Star Mills area, if I'm in Hansborough, here's going to be my argument to you. Let's not go ahead and say, oh, the rotation is weaker. I'm not going to take action because whatever, the rotation's weaker, show over. Here's my argument for you. I'm going to say that we could still see cycles within this. It could pulse up, it could pulse down. We could see some strengthening, some weakening. But the area rotation still is very close to a highly traveled area. In addition to the fact that this is going into our Memorial Day weekend, it makes it obviously a big deal. This is near where Rough River is. Rough River obviously being in the southern part of Grayson. So if you have family or friends that are maybe heading down 65, getting on the western, going to Rough River Lake, I think we still take this one seriously. It had good rotation. We're about 6 minutes off when that best rotation was. I think the next 3 to 5 minutes will tell the story. If we deem that this is no longer a tornado threat, the Weather Service would likely lift that warning. They've been really, really good this year with dealing with this. So in the Hansborough area, I know you're nervous. What time? 12 minutes from now. That puts you at 10:04 in Hansborough. Cecilia, I'm nervous, Mark. What time? 10:10. If you're in the Gaithers area, I'm going to bring this into your area around 10:14. And if you're in E-Town, this puts you in E-Town around 28 to 25 minutes. So I'm going to call E-Town right now around 10:20 if it gets into your area. Remember, that is Eastern time, so that would be 9:20 Central. Again, a positive sign here that we're seeing the rotation coming down on the storm. As it stands at 9:53, the warning is going to last until 10:15. The Weather Service may make some decisions here in terms of do they let it go fully until 10:15. I'll be in communication with them. We chat back and forth, and we'll decide kind of as an enterprise, do we see this as still necessarily needing a tornado warning, or do we then scale that back? I'm just going to check real quickly. The Weather Service right now has stated that they're going to keep the tornado warning going a little bit longer, but the rotation is widening, and if this trend continues, they will cancel. So I do want to let our news crew know it is possible that they cancel. If they cancel, we would go live at 10 o'clock with news, come into weather as normal. So what we'll do is stay with this as long as a tornado warning is posted. And what I will tell you, if it's me, I'm in lockstep in this particular one with the Weather Service. I would not release this warning at this point right now. I want to see one more scan. That next scan should be in the next few moments, within about 90 seconds. That next scan is going to tell us a lot. A couple of things that I find rather interesting as I'm analyzing this is the lightning that we had. We're now almost void of that lightning. So this is something that may seem quite insignificant, but air rising is really important in these thunderstorms. Air rises faster, we get more lightning, better chance of a tornado. And a lot of times what happens as a precursor to when these tornadoes actually occur is we normally see an uptick of lightning, and vice versa. When we see a downward trend of lightning, we normally see air rising slower, tornado rotation potential going down. You know, and I didn't want to have any tornado warnings tonight, but the truth of the matter is I didn't eat dinner tonight. I've had a couple of protein bars just because I knew that this was a distinct possibility. Having worked this area for over 20 years, one of the things I find is that these warm fronts, you cannot sleep on these. They almost always, even though it look great on radar, we almost always get tornadoes on these, and it doesn't mean a lot. But I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again, we almost always get tornado warnings on these. And we have had some spotter reports Of tornado touchdowns that occurred to the west with damage being reported, Morgantown, we do believe that a tornado touchdown and did damage in the Morgantown area. So again, there's a lot of things going on. There is a warm front in our area. If you're outside of this area, let me not ignore. Louisville's seeing some heavy rain right now, and if you're in Louisville, that is a big deal. We've got rain right now as we move from Brandenburg southward. That goes into the Muldraw area, and then we run into the area where we've got the tornado warning. And it is worth noting, tornado warning or not, we still have the severe thunderstorm warning outside of that. And the Weather Service has worked with that severe thunderstorm warning, at times putting tornado possible, and they did put that in there. So their decision's going to come down to here. Do I stay with the tornado warning, or do I go with severe with tornado possible? And I think we're at a point now where it is weakening enough that maybe we can go with that. I'm going to just ask real quick. Weather Service, again, is really good about communicating back and forth with us. Let me just show you what we're looking at here. The area rotation, I'm not going to be able to, there really is not much left in there. So, I'm going to just tell you where the storm is, and if it gathers strength again, what we would need to watch. The area is going to be near Eastwood heading towards Cecilia right now. What we have seen now is the core of this is now flattened out. When I originally came on the air, it kind of looked more like a ball, and it had a little tail on the southern side of it. We're not in that scenario right now, and this is clearly weakened off dramatically. In fact, the lightning strikes are now trailing the storm. What does that mean? It means that the lightning occurred 6, 10, 12 minutes ago. And what the map does is it keeps it up there for about 30 minutes, and then it falls off once we hit about 30 minutes. We also notice that we don't have any of the brighter reds in here. We're now retreating back to the oranges in here. And so we are definitely indeed seeing a weakening trend here within that thunderstorm. I'm just going to head back over to the Weather Center because, as I noted to you, I was asking the question to the Weather Service on this. Weather Service says that they are going to cancel the tornado warning, but leave the severe with tornado possible for at least a few more minutes. Once I can confirm that we have indeed dropped that tornado warning, we'll return back to programming. As noted, I do want to let news know that we would obviously at that point be going into the news at 10 o'clock as our anchors are walking into the studio here. So I do anticipate what I'm going to do here, guys, is since we have only 2 minutes until newscast, I'm going to stay right until, and then we'll launch the newscast as normal. But rather than just dropping out here right now, let's just stay until 10 o'clock, top of the hour, and then move into the newscast as normal. So let our master control know that we're going to go from this cut directly into the newscast. Can confirm tornado warning has now been allowed to expire. Again, big credit on the Weather Service. They release the warning as appropriate, as this scenario required. We have a severe with tornado possible for Bullitt, Hardin, LaRue, and Nelson County. You'll notice 60-mile-an-hour winds are possible here. Also, we've got that tornado possible tag. So the tornado possible tag is a little bit of a step down from where we were. When we originally started this, we started off with tornado warning. We started off not with tornado possible, but with tornado warning. Tornado possible means the Weather Service has now deemed that we're not in an imminent scenario where we think a tornado could be occurring. Now we're recognizing the fact that this is showing some weaker levels of rotation, and we have a history where the rotation has gone up and down. So instead of going tornado warning, they've gone with the severe thunderstorm with a tornado possible. With the tornado possible means that it's an area we're going to monitor, obviously, very closely, but we don't deem the threat immediate, and we don't deem the threat as immediate as what we saw earlier. So these are positive things that we have seen thus far. And that is a good thing on the tornado warning. And I'll make sure, by the way, on the bottom part of the screen, the tornado warning is no longer showing. About 30 or so seconds away from starting our newscast off, we've got rain continuing around our area. It's been a day with a lot of that. I told you guys earlier, with a warm front in the area, these do make me uneasy. So should I be worried in Louisville there's an area of rain? No, that doesn't show any signal of that. We're watching near Brandenburg and Muldraw. No rotation showing up in there. And the area where we did have the tornado warning, this came from south of Litchfield, moved towards Caneyville, towards the Summit area, and continues to slide east on approach towards E-Town and has weakened. It is 10 o'clock, top of the hour. We're going to start WDRB News at 10 right now.
I'd rather have nothing else than doing this by my